Hey guys, Yips here coming at you with another video, and today I want to talk a little bit about Balanced Druid in Mythic Plus. I know it's been a long time since I've made a video and most of my content has been for Warlock, however, I don't really find Warlock that interesting right now, so I don't think I'll be making any Warlock videos. I do, however, find Balanced Druid quite fun to play right now, so I want to talk a little bit about how to optimize it in Mythic Plus dungeons. So, Balanced Druid's pretty cool spec. It has a lot of really great utility. Trents for the tanks to kite, Ursul's Vortex, Typhoon, a lot of really good tank utility things. Healing, Restoration Affinity, Heart of the Wild, very powerful to help out your healer. It's a tanky spec. It has a great damage profile, great single target, great AoE. It's just really strong all around. The main thing I want to talk about is the damage aspect though, and how to properly deal damage to different packs in Mythic Plus dungeons. So as a boomkin, you have your base spenders or generators, you have Wrath, you have Starfire, you have your two spenders, Star Surge, Starfall, and then you have your dots, Moonfire and Sunfire. And as a basic, once you have all of the cogs rolling as boomkin, it's not exceptionally difficult to play. Once you have all of your dots out on the targets, and once you've procced your Eclipse, and once you have your Starfall out, it's really quite easy to follow the damage rotation and do a lot of DPS. Starfall adds extra seconds to your dots, you can sit there and channel your generator, and not have too much to worry about. The damage is really quite simple to do once you have everything rolling. However, there is a little bit of a thing to that. It takes a long time for Boomkin to get all of these cogs rolling once you're in a pack in Mythic Plus. It takes you a lot of globals to proc your Eclipse, put your dots out, get your Starfall running. That's a lot of GCDs. And these buttons don't hit very hard. Your dots on their own don't hit very hard. Your Starfall on its own doesn't hit very hard. Your Moonfires, your Wraths, things like that, they don't hit very hard. But altogether, the fact that it's hitting everything adds up to a lot of DPS. You can see here, my damage just keeps going up. And that's because the ramp for Boomkin is quite long. And that's the thing that I really want to focus on in this video, is how to minimize that ramp time so you can get quicker to that maximum DPS number and you can more efficiently maximize your overall DPS in a key. So really quick on the dummies, and then I'll show you a little bit of how it works in an actual dungeon. What you want to be doing in each pack in Mythic Plus is always thinking about the next pack, what you're going to need to resources you want to have for the next pack in order to make that ramp not as long. So say you're walking up to a pack and the pack is almost dead. So the pack is at like 5-10% and you're preparing for the next one. So you're in your Eclipse, the pack is almost dead. Say you're in your Lunar Eclipse and the pack is almost dead and you're fighting it. You want to be banking your astral power for the next pack. We're not playing the balance of nature's balance. We're not playing nature's balance talent, so that means we don't passively generate astral power unless we're actively attacking the mobs. So when a pack is about to be dying, you want to make sure that you're banking at least 50 astral power so that when you go into the next pack, you have enough AP to instantly press that Starfall. You don't have to sit there for 5, 6, 7 seconds, the pack's at 40% HP, and then be pressing your Starfall. You want to get it right away when the mobs are at 100% life, and you can prep for that on the next pack. What I'll see a lot of Boomkins do is the pack will be dying, they'll proc their next Eclipse, and there'll be like 1 or 2 mobs left, and they'll shove a few Star Surgers in to kill the pack. That can be good sometimes, depending on how long away the next pack is, whether or not you have cooldowns going into the next pack. There are things where that can be good, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time you want to be banking that astral power, you want to save it for the next pull, and you want to make sure that you have enough to at least use 1 Starfall on pull, if not have more ready. The other thing that you want to be doing is making sure that you're setting up your Eclipse windows properly. You want to be making sure that before you're fighting that next Pride, before you're moving on to that next pack, that when the pack's dying, you do not proc your next Eclipse. You want to be ready to proc that Eclipse as soon as you get into combat with the next pack of mobs. So you have your Starfall and your Eclipse out as quickly as possible, and this cuts down a lot on the overall ramp time for Druid. Compare a Druid that starts at 0 astral power and 2 charges left on Lunar Strike compared to one that has 100 astral power and 1 charge left of Lunar Strike to get into your Eclipse. The Boomkin that has the 100 AP and the 1 charge on its Lunar Strike is going to do a lot more damage initially than the other Druid. Once they both get their damage rolling, it will be the same, but that initial ramp will be so much faster. So just to get you an idea of what that would look like, your tank is grouping the mobs. You might press 1 Moonfire, 2 Moonfire. Mobs are grouped. You Starfall. you get into your eclipse as quickly as possible, get your initial dots out, and then you're building for that second starfall after you get your dots out. Maintaining your starfall, maintaining your dots, getting your ramp out more quickly. This will lead you to do a lot more damage in dungeons overall, I promise. I see a lot of druids, even high-end druids, going into keys, and they're not prepping their damage, they're not pre-starfalling, they're not getting their dots out properly, and this is leading to massive damage loss, especially when you're outside your CD windows. And even when you're in your CD windows, you want to be thinking about this. You don't want to go into a pack with Celestial Alignment and Convoke and not have enough AP to pop an initial starfall on yourself. Say a pack only lasts for 15 seconds because you and the mage are using cooldowns, and you don't press Starfall, because you're hoping you get one during your Convoke. A lot of the times, that 4 seconds of your Convoke could be time where you had Starfall up, and for a 15-second long pack, when your number 1 damage is Starfall, that's a heck of a lot of downtime on that key ability. So what you can actually be doing is you make sure that you have that AP bank. Just say I generate a little bit of Astral Power here. And you go into that pack. What you can actually be doing as a druid is you pre-prep that. You go into the pack, you put one Sunfire out, you press your Starfall, you Convoke. And you don't have to worry about it, and you have that Starfall running for your whole Convoke, and if it pops another one, great. If not, you throw it up with the Astral Power you built, and you can go in to doing AoE DPS. So this is a little bit what I wanted to talk about. Now I'm going to show you it in an actual run, so you can kind of visualize it and see it in an actual dungeon, and get an idea for what I'm talking about. So here I have a Halls of Atonement run for you guys, and I'm just going to show you the first few pulls of the dungeon so you can get an idea of the gist of how this works in Mythic Plus. But at the start of the dungeon, I highly recommend getting a full AP bar. This is going to be really useful for the first pull. As generally speaking, in most dungeons, you go pretty big on the first pull. And you always want to be watching your tank and what your tank is hitting. If you see your tank hit a mob, moonfire it. If they don't hit a mob, don't moonfire it. And then once the pull is pretty well grouped, that's when you want to push your first Starfall, and then you want to go in with your cooldowns. So you see, I watch my tank, I see what he's hitting, what he hits, I moonfire, I press one Sunfire, I get my Starfall out, I Convoke with Incarn, do a bunch of DPS. It's not very difficult to do. All I did, moonfire mobs while he's grouping, I watch what he's hitting, I Sunfire when the mobs are pretty well grouped up, press my Starfall once I feel comfortable I'm not going to rip threat on everything, press all my cooldowns. It's very simple, very basic, but that key, putting the Moonfires out, getting the one Sunfire, getting the Starfall out before you use your CDs as quickly as possible really does lead to doing more DPS overall. So I seeded that pack, great, we're going into the next one. It's the same sort of idea. I have 50 Astral Power. I have enough AP for one Starfall. I have my Eclipse procs ready to go. Doing the same sort of idea. Getting a couple Moonfires out. I will get my Starfall rolling as soon as possible. I'll build for my second Starfall as quickly as possible, proccing my Eclipses as soon as possible, and you'll see how that leads to doing a lot of damage very quickly, whereas a lot of Druids, they take a long time to ramp when they're playing balance. So I Moonfire the mobs that the tank's hitting. As soon as I feel comfortable, I'll go ahead and proc my Starfall. I wrathed one mob, so I was that much closer to proccing my next Eclipse. So I wrath a mob that's running at the tank, so I'm even closer to proccing my Eclipse once all the mobs are grouped up. Here we go, I proc my Eclipse, and now I'm just building for that next Starfall, putting my Sunfire out, building for the next Starfall, making sure I chain it, and you can see my damage is already going up very quickly before the mobs are even grouped. I will see a lot of Druids not even have Eclipse procced at this point in the pull. The mobs will be all grouped on top of each other like this, and they will not have casted into their first Eclipse at this point. They won't have their second Starfall already running, and they maybe will just start dotting at this point. Whereas for me, and what I think most Druids should be doing, is you're pre-moonfiring, you're getting your Starfall active, you're setting up that next Eclipse, and you're thinking about it actively. Proc my Eclipse, building my Astral Power for my Starfall, moving into the pack, and then going about the simple damage rotation that Druid does have, making sure that I maintain my Starfall, making sure that I'm proccing my Eclipse as quickly as possible, Sunfire on all the mobs, doing big AoE in general. So you see here, finish my Eclipse, instantly going into proc my Lunar one, and making sure that I build a comfy enough amount of Astral Power to where I don't feel stressed on being able to use my next Starfall. You never want to feel like as a Boomkin that you're going to be stressed to use your next Starfall in terms of Astral Power generation. Starfall is your number one DPS on AoE. It does so much damage overall. You need to make sure that you're maintaining 100% uptime on it, especially once you start combat with those mobs and they're grouped up. So that's the general gist of what I wanted to talk about for Mythic Plus for Brimkins in terms of how to do damage overall. Hopefully this is helpful for some people. Hopefully it gives you some insight on how you want to be playing in general. You can see here we're finishing up this pack. I'm going to make sure I have some AP banked for when we go into the Pride. Just always thinking about that next pack. Always thinking about what eclipse do I want to be in going to this pack? Do I want to save a lunar eclipse for it? Do I want to make sure I have big starfire damage for it? Things of that nature are really important when you're playing Balanced Druid. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hope you found it insightful, and I will talk to you guys next time. If you guys do want to look at some Resto Druid content, Lizzie Cat in my group has made a YouTube, and she's been making some Resto Druid content. So if you want to check it out there, you can look at the video description below. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.